Have you ever thought that your first love could turn into a marital nightmare, all because of a mother-in-law? This is my real story, Olivia. Under the scorching summer sun, I stepped out of the courthouse, thinking the tears would come, but there was only a cold emptiness squeezing my chest. The divorce certificate in my hand, with its dry red stamp, felt like a knife slicing through 10 years of memories. The blazing light outside burned my eyes, as if trying to scorch every dream that once shimmered. The early summer sun glared so harshly that I had to squint, yet still couldn't see what lay ahead. "Wait!" Liam called after me. His voice was hoarse, strangely calm. In those eyes was something, maybe regret, or maybe just an old habit that hadn't been shaken off yet. And I suddenly realized, maybe he was never truly mine. We had simply passed through each other's lives, like strangers who once held hands in summer, then quietly let go. If you've ever loved someone so deeply that you lost yourself in the process, stay, because you might find a piece of yourself in this story. The early summer sunlight spilled through the oak leaves outside the classroom window, painting uneven patches of light across the old wooden floor. I, Olivia, sat in the front row, chewing on the end of my pencil, eyes locked on the graduation dance plans. Sheets of scribbled notes lay scattered before me, like an unsolvable puzzle. If I could just survive this final year, I thought, everything would be okay. "Mr. Johnson's here." A whisper from the corner made everyone straighten up. The classroom door swung open, and the teacher walked in, followed by a tall figure with a slung crossbody bag. His hair was a mess of brown, streaked with bright golden highlights that shimmered under the fluorescent lights. A black hoodie clung to his slim frame, paired with faded blue jeans and a cocky smile that seemed to challenge the whole world. Before Mr. Johnson could say anything, the back row burst into chatter. "Whoa, Liam Carter! What brings you here?" The whispers spread like wildfire, pulling me away from my notes. Liam Carter? That name rang with scattered rumors. The bad boy expelled for fighting, or maybe he just didn't want to stay at his old school. Whatever it was, his family had money, influence. Everyone knew that. I glanced at him, trying to read something in the eyes hidden beneath that long hair, but all I saw was an invisible wall. Mr. Johnson tapped his ruler on the board, and the room fell silent. "This is Liam Carter, your new classmate," he said flatly. Then he pointed to the empty seat right behind me, telling him to sit there for now. Senior year felt like a never-ending pressure cooker. Nerds like me were practically glued to our chairs, squeezing every minute to revise or get ahead. During lunch, Chloe, my best friend since 6th grade, and I decided to stay in class and review notes instead of heading home. As we walked in, I nearly froze. Liam was there, slumped over, headphones plugged in, tight, messy hair covering most of his face. On the desk, gleaming under the light, was the newest Taylor Swift album, its cover glistening like a silent invitation. That album. My eyes lit up. I had searched every store in town for a copy, but failed. As a die-hard Swiftie, I could sing all of Folklore by heart, but Liam was asleep, and we'd never even spoken a word. Should I risk asking to borrow it? I shook my head, swallowing the regret. Chloe, reading my mind like always, pulled an identical copy from her bag and handed it to me with a sly grin. "Early birthday gift, don't ask for more," I squealed, hugged her tight, and planted a loud kiss on her cheek. Liam stirred slightly, a strand of hair falling over his eye. I glanced at him, wondering if he heard, or if he was just lost in his own world. Liam had been in class for just over a week, and somehow he blended in effortlessly. He chatted with everyone, from the troublemakers to even Chloe, joking around like he'd always belonged. Everyone but me, not a single word. No hello, no eye contact. Was I really that unlikable? I found myself checking my reflection in the restroom mirror. Chloe once said my cold, unreadable face sometimes made people hesitant to talk to me. But I wasn't cold. I just didn't know how to start. Then one day, I caught Liam's gaze. Just a fleeting second, but it burned. Like fire grazing skin, making my heart race. Still, I brushed it off. Senior year was chaos, and honestly, I didn't have time to pay attention to things like that. Christmas break flew by in a blur, like a fleeting breeze carrying the scent of fresh pine and the soft jingles of lights strung across glowing trees. We, the final year students, didn't get to rest for long. Final exams loomed large ahead, with thick textbooks and sleepless nights of cramming. Even so, those few days off felt like a precious gift. The day after that Christmas, I came down with a bad fever. I lay in bed for days, bored to the point where all I could do was stare at the ceiling. My nose was completely blocked, my eyes burned, and the world around me blurred through the haze of sickness. Back then, mobile phones weren't common among students. Only the lucky few had them. My dad, always the doting father, had given me a shiny silver iPod, a treasure that made me indescribably happy. That afternoon, I was curled up in bed as usual, absent-mindedly swiping the screen, managing a few lines in the snake game. Suddenly, a soft ting sounded. A new message. I raised an eyebrow and opened it. An unknown number asking simply, "What are you up to?" Who could that be? I wondered, a little puzzled. Maybe a wrong number. But boredom, mixed with the strange joy of having someone to talk to, quickly took over. I hesitated for a moment, then typed back. And just like that, the conversation began. This stranger seemed to know all my interests. Everything they said struck a chord with me. We talked about Taylor Swift, the songs that moved me, then about the Grand Canyon. The more we talked, the more I had this vague feeling it was him. The new transfer student, Liam Carter. But the thrill of being a teenage girl kept me silent. I didn't confront him. I liked the mystery, like playing a game, only I knew the rules too. When school started again, Liam still didn't speak to me directly. But during study period, when the room was hushed, filled only with pages turning and soft whispers, a small folded note was passed to me from behind. I opened it, heart racing. The blue ink had smudged slightly, but I could feel the nerves behind each word. Strangely enough, he wasn't very good at studying, but his handwriting was beautiful. Over and over, he danced around the truth, only one step away from admitting that it had been him texting me over the holidays. "Turns out you're not as cold as I thought," he wrote with a hand-drawn smiley face. "I used to be kind of scared of you." I smiled, biting my lip to keep from laughing out loud. Even with finals approaching, we still found little pockets of free time. The tiny notes kept coming, full of random chatter and questions. Honestly, I understood the hints, what he was trying to say. I just didn't know what to do about it. I didn't know whether there was any real feeling there or just a fleeting curiosity. Liam was attractive. Tall, messy hair, that grin that made girls blush. Despite being labeled a bad boy, the truth was, he never fought anyone or bullied anyone. As high schoolers, we were too busy with exams and assignments to entertain drama. He was just a little reckless, that loud laugh, the way he wore a black hoodie in a sea of uniforms, the way he ignored small rules. And maybe that's what made him stand out, like a star in a gray sky. He even had a tiny fan club of younger girls who whispered his name in the hallways and blushed whenever he passed by. The final weeks before exams swept by like a whirlwind, tearing through everything in laughter, last-minute cramming, and late-night study sessions. Our class still gathered around study tables, whispering about soccer matches and trending songs, but no one mentioned the real turning point ahead, the fork in the road where some would soar and others might quietly slip. Then, just a week before finals, something unexpected happened. That day, Chloe, my best friend, and I decided to ditch school for a bit, hoping to blow off steam. We wandered along a quiet street after class, the afternoon breeze filled with the smell of car exhaust and dried leaves, our hearts beating fast with the rare thrill of freedom. But then, the air changed, turned heavy. Suspicious figures loitered at the corner, their laughter echoing. Something felt off, but it was too late. A tall man with a buzz cut stepped out to block us, a lit cigarette smoldering between his lips, thick smoke curling into the air. "Where are you going, girls?" His voice was disgusting, not even trying to hide it. "Let me take you somewhere fun," he sneered, walking closer with heavy steps, followed by two tattooed thugs whose eyes darted like hungry wolves. My heart pounded wildly. I tried to act brave, my voice shaking, but I forced myself to meet his gaze. "We need to go home now. My dad's coming to pick us up." One of the other guys, the sidekick, looked nervous, eyes shifting. "Joe, someone really might show up soon." But Joe, the ringleader, didn't care at all. He even shoved his friend hard. "Coward! Then get lost. It's not every day we run into schoolgirls like these." He laughed, his filthy, calloused hand reaching toward my shoulder. I stepped back, but my back hit the cold, rusted fence. No way out. Just as his hand was about to touch me, a loud thud rang out. Joe was suddenly thrown backward, crashing onto the pavement. It was Liam Carter. He had charged in from the shadows, his tall frame wrapped in that familiar black hoodie, landing a powerful kick that sent Joe rolling. "Run!" Liam shouted. The gang snarled and rushed him. He dodged, fought back, but they outnumbered him. I didn't know what to do. I was frozen with fear. All I could manage was to grab Chloe and run, screaming for help as we sprinted away. We burst into the nearest police station, sobbing uncontrollably, then ran back with officers in tow. The pressure of exam stress and the sheer terror of that moment finally hit me. I collapsed, the world fading into darkness as sirens wailed and shouts echoed in the distance. I woke up hours later. The doctor said I just needed rest, that I was exhausted. But the next morning, I insisted on going back to school, my head spinning with images of Liam fighting alone. But from that day on, I never saw him again. I even asked the teachers. They said his family had come that night and taken him away. No one heard anything after that. I just wanted to know how he was. Was he badly hurt? Was he okay? If this ruined his chance at the finals, how was I ever supposed to make it up to him? "Miss me?" The message came out of nowhere, just as I was zoning out, staring out the window. I had written out a long reply. But then, I deleted it all, typing only a short line. "Are you okay?" "It was nothing," he replied almost instantly, that same cocky tone coming through each word. Did I look like a hero back then? "I thought you were gonna fall in love with me on the spot." I laughed. Still Liam, I thought, a warm sense of relief spreading through me, even though deep down I still felt uneasy. No matter how good he was at fighting, going up against a gang alone couldn't have ended well. He said nothing much, just that he was fine, no big deal. But during finals, Liam didn't sit the exams with me. His SAT scores had been sent from his old school, and he never came back to ours. All I could do was trust his words. The 3 days of finals felt like one long nightmare. Numbers, formulas, and essays spun endlessly through my mind, like running a marathon with no finish line. By the time I put my pen down after the last test, I felt completely drained, like every ounce of energy had been wrung out of me. I just wanted to lie down and sleep forever. I wonder if Carter took the finals. A voice piped up from the group behind me as I packed up my things. "Heard his arm got broken. Technically, he shouldn't have been able to take them." I whipped around, grabbing the arm of the guy who spoke, my voice urgent. "What did you say? What actually happened?" "You didn't know?" he asked cautiously, his voice softening. That night, Carter broke his arm in the fight. The cops only took the other guys. His family showed up and took him away right after. My heart stopped. A broken arm? I let go of his sleeve. So Liam really did get hurt protecting us. He might have missed the finals entirely. I numbly gathered my things, mind blank. My dad came to pick me up, and the whole ride home, I just sat silently, staring out the car window at the blood-red sunset. Lying in bed, blankets pulled tight, I held my iPod, wanting to text Liam, but my fingers hovered uncertainly above the screen. "Thank you? I'm sorry? Does it still hurt?" I didn't know where to begin. The iPod buzzed, breaking my spiral of thoughts. A new message from Liam. Now that finals are over, would you give me a chance to listen to Taylor Swift with you forever? We started being together the very next day after exams ended. That summer, when golden sunsets bathed the whole town, Liam and I would head to the empty lot near my house after dinner. It was filled with rough, cool slabs of construction stone. The summer breeze carried the smell of dry grass and a hint of dusty earth. We'd sit on the rocks, watching the sky sparkle with stars, or ride our bikes aimlessly, without direction. Just the two of us, with nothing but the wind and our heartbeats intertwining. Those moments, pure and tender, felt like a warm summer evening, filled with the memories of youth. When Liam smiled at me, his eyes shimmered like they held the whole summer, and me inside it. Years later, I still remember the star-filled sky of that summer. But time passed, and the promises we made in youth slowly faded. The night before our divorce, when everything had already fallen apart, Liam sat across from me, eyes tired. "What makes you think I don't love you anymore?" he asked, voice hoarse, as if trying to reach for something already lost. I looked into his eyes, deep and aching. "Because I remember how you used to love me," I said. For a moment, something flickered in his eyes. Confusion, maybe even a trace of pain. I'm still not sure. My daughter is such a good kid. After school, she quietly sits down at the table and does her homework without being told. That kind of maturity breaks my heart. She's only 8. She should be out running around and laughing, not sitting still like a miniature adult. My health has worsened a lot over the years. Even climbing 6 flights of stairs leaves me leaning against the wall, gasping for breath for a long while. I can hear the sounds of cooking coming from the kitchen. Margaret, my mother-in-law, is making dinner. I don't even have to look to know she snuck into the kitchen the moment I opened the door. She still doesn't know about the divorce, but it doesn't really matter. If she found out I was getting divorced, she'd probably be even happier about it. Sitting in the dark living room, everything around me just feels exhausting. How did we even end up like this? Back then, Liam risked everything, didn't even care about how it would affect his finals, just to protect me. That reckless boy actually made the effort to approach me gently, win me over, and spent that long summer by my side. He didn't do well on his finals that year, so his family pulled strings to get him into a private university. He didn't want to retake the exams, partly because that school was next to the one I got accepted into. Those college years were probably the best time of our lives. We held hands, wandered through every street big and small, tried every kind of fast food, tacos, burgers, and checked in at every tourist spot in the city. Of course, we had fights. He had a temper, and I was stubborn. I refused to back down. But almost every time after a fight, he would be the one to make up first, either showing up at my door with my favorite takeout or texting me silly jokes. He once told me his dad was a state official in our area, and his mom ran a hotel. His parents were always busy and never had time for him. Growing up, every time he got into trouble outside, he'd come home and get beaten without question. Whether he was right or wrong didn't matter. Even when he was the one being bullied, the result was the same. Sometimes it was over the smallest things. His mom never told him to study hard. Instead, she'd wait until his dad came home, just to egg him on, making sure the beatings were even worse. Eventually, he made it through high school, taller than his father. That one time, it was the same situation. Faced with his dad's raised fist, all the years of bottled-up anger and resentment finally exploded. He snapped and fought back, like he lost control. From then on, he became famous in the area. Everyone knew the Carters had a messed-up son who once dared to hit his own father. After hearing all of that, I just held him tight and said nothing. I couldn't find any words. All I could think was, I will never let him go through that kind of pain again. "Dinner's ready." Margaret's sharp voice cut through from the kitchen, snapping me out of my drifting thoughts. I stood up to bring the plates, and my daughter came running out after washing her hands. At the dinner table, Margaret ate while telling my daughter how well-behaved the boy next door was. My daughter stayed unusually quiet, her small fork slowly pushing the piece of meat around her plate, as if trying to avoid Margaret's gaze. I looked at her, heart aching. Isabella is only 8, but she already knows how to stay silent to avoid cruel comparisons. My 8-year-old has figured out what it took me years to realize. Her grandmother always wants to control everything, from how we spend money, to which school Isabella should attend, to even what color dress she should wear. Margaret isn't here just to help raise her granddaughter. She's here because she's terrified of losing control. I work all day, constantly running back and forth to take care of Isabella. Margaret is terrified that I might hire a nanny. That would be something she couldn't control, so she insisted on moving in with us. After dinner, I cleared the table and did the dishes. My daughter quietly went back to her homework while Margaret strolled into her room to make a phone call. I didn't need to hear it to know. She was either complaining that I still hadn't given her a second grandchild or criticizing Isabella for not being good enough. As for my husband, he works in Texas, pretty far away. I work from home, raise our child alone, and live with Margaret. Sometimes it feels like I didn't marry Liam. I married Margaret. She's in every corner of this house, every meal, every decision. The year we graduated from college, we got married. We chose a special date, the anniversary of the day we first met. We woke up before sunrise. Liam wore a white shirt, sleeves rolled up, showing his strong arms, and I chose a simple white dress that gently hugged my figure, feeling like the whole world was smiling at us. After receiving our marriage certificate, Liam pulled me into his arms, his warm embrace tightening as if he never wanted to let go. "Honey, I finally got to marry you," he whispered. "I swear I'll treat you well for the rest of our lives." I buried my face in his chest and smiled softly, full of happiness. Liam's parents, my in-laws, maybe weren't the best at raising their son, but I believed that with me in the picture, things between them would gradually improve. I truly believed that. Just a naive young woman who thought love could heal everything. I sympathized with Margaret, my mother-in-law, always busy with the hotel business. At home, I never turned down a chance to help. I even gave her little gifts from time to time. Our private life as a couple didn't last long. The pressure to have kids didn't come immediately, but when it came, it hit hard. Both sides of the family, his and mine, began dropping hints, their tones a mix of excitement and pressure. At first, I didn't feel strongly about children, but I couldn't resist the growing expectations of everyone. Margaret even said that once the baby came, I wouldn't have to worry about a thing. I could keep working while she and my father-in-law helped raise the child. Seeing their excitement, I talked to Liam, and we stopped using birth control. In less than 2 months, I was pregnant. Less than 2 months. Liam hugged me, laughing with joy. "We're having a baby!" His smile lit up the room. But the joy didn't last long before morning sickness hit. The smell of food alone made my stomach twist. I couldn't stop vomiting. I lost weight fast. Even my manager at work couldn't bear it, shaking his head as I rushed to the restroom for the 3rd time that day. I had no choice but to quit. Most of my days were spent lying down, only going for short walks after I managed to eat something. Looking at my pale face and colorless lips in the mirror, I felt utterly miserable. I used to be so confident in my looks, always careful with every detail. How did pregnancy bring me to this? Drowning in that negativity, Liam would wrap his arms around me, again and again, whispering, "Baby, you'll always be the most beautiful girl to me." Liam worked and cared for me at the same time. Every morning, he woke up early to bring breakfast for me, making sure I ate before rushing to work. On the days I couldn't eat, he'd bring a few extra dishes just in case. Besides the nausea, I also struggled to sleep at night. That period made both of us noticeably thinner. By the 4th or 5th month, the morning sickness eased. But a new problem showed up. My face started breaking out in red, swollen pimples, betrayal marks from my own body. During prenatal visits, the doctor just smiled and said, "It's just pregnancy hormones. It'll clear up after birth." But standing in front of the mirror, watching my waist grow and my face covered in breakouts, all I wanted to do was cry. "What am I supposed to do?" I said to Liam, voice trembling. "I look horrible." He chuckled and pulled me close, gently stroking my hair. "Well, when the baby's born, I'll give it a good scolding for daring to mess up my beautiful wife." I playfully hit his chest. We joked like we used to in college, pretending all the hard things were just temporary. My belly grew fast, like a balloon inflating each month. By the 6th or 7th month, Liam suggested I go stay with my parents while he had to go on a business trip. "You'll be more comfortable there," he said. My parents agreed. My mom had already cleaned out my old room. "But I don't want to be away from you," I said sadly, hugging Liam and burying my face into his shoulder, soaking in his familiar warmth. "I'll come visit every month," he whispered, kissing my forehead. "I'll save up my vacation days. Once the baby's here, I'll take care of you for a whole month." 1 week before my due date, Liam came back, but not with the bright smile I'd been waiting for. He walked in, suitcase dragging across the floor, his voice low. "I quit my job, Olivia." He said the company wasn't the right fit anymore. The management had changed, and he'd decided to resign. He'd find another job after the baby was born. I figured, well, we still had the hotel at least, and for now, my husband would be by my side when the baby arrived. After dinner, I cleaned up the kitchen. Margaret went out to play bingo with her friends, and my daughter was doing her homework. Suddenly, I remembered last year, when I took 2 weeks off for my annual leave and went to Texas to visit him. Those days, with just the two of us, felt like we were dating again. We went out, checked in at all the trending spots we saw online. I told him I wanted to watch the sunset. He didn't have time to take me to the beach, so on the weekend, he just drove us around the city. The sun was almost setting when we finally found a small hill with a decent view. We climbed up just before the sun dipped below the horizon. Sitting on that hill, watching the sun slowly go down until it disappeared completely, the whole world was soaked in warm shades of gold and orange, gentle, lingering, and full of emotion. Sunset gives off a kind of warmth, like even though darkness is coming, it still offers the world one last bit of soft light. That day, I posted a status on social media. "There's a sunset, the golden hour I love, and there's you." Along with that was a photo of us, sitting there, watching the sun go down together. In that moment, I was sure Liam loved me, and I was also sure we would grow old together. The day I gave birth, it felt like going through hell. I was in pain from midnight until the next afternoon, and still couldn't deliver. The doctor had to press down hard on my belly to force the baby out. As a result, the wound below tore badly, and even turning over afterward hurt like hell. Liam came into the delivery room with me. He stayed by my side the entire time, holding my hand tightly. I was in so much pain, I could only grit my teeth and squeeze his hand with all my strength. From the moment we entered the delivery room, through the birth, and even while they stitched me up, he never once let go of my hand. Through the haze of exhaustion, I thought I heard him sniffle. Was he crying? If he really was, that was the first time he'd ever cried in front of me. That was my last thought before I drifted off. When I woke up, I saw the tiny, wrinkled baby sleeping beside me. Was this really my daughter? She looked so scrunched up. It was hard to accept at first, but somehow deep inside, my heart began to melt. It was summer, and because of the torn wound, I had to get IV drips and couldn't sit up. It was miserable. I kept thinking that once I gave birth, things would go back to normal, like before I got pregnant. I didn't realize that was only the beginning. The first struggle was breastfeeding. Everyone said breast milk was best, and I knew that too. But my body just didn't produce enough milk. What could I do? My tiny baby tried so hard to feed, but there wasn't much coming out. She cried from hunger, and I cried from pain. Liam just stood there helplessly watching us both. Thankfully, my daughter wasn't picky. She could take both breast milk and formula. On the second day after we came home, my husband stormed into the bedroom, angry. I asked what was wrong, and he said he overheard his mother talking to someone. Apparently, someone had congratulated her and asked when she'd be holding a party to celebrate the new grandchild. And she'd said, "A party? For what?" "Absolutely not." Liam was furious and argued with her. I knew Margaret liked to control the finances, but I never expected her attitude to change so drastically, especially right after my daughter was born. I cried out of pure heartbreak. My baby girl had come into the world through so much pain. Why did people have to speak of her like that? What I didn't expect even more was that after we came home from the hospital, I didn't see Margaret for the next 2 days at all. I couldn't understand what was happening. Was this her real face, now that I'd given birth to a daughter instead of a son? Liam went from arguing with his mother at first to going quiet around her within just a few days. After all, she still pampered him in every way. It was only then I began to see everything clearly, to realize that manipulation knows no age. The baby's crying and my wound's pain kept me from sleeping. I didn't understand how giving birth to one child could change everything so completely. Other than crying, it felt like I couldn't do anything at all, as if my life had quietly ended there. Liam went from being sympathetic at first to becoming distant, even irritated. Margaret said to him, "You're not helping in there anyway, just go sleep in the living room." And without a second thought, he moved out there, saying it was so I could rest better. Soon I was barely sleeping 2 hours a day. Every day was a blur of tears and exhaustion. I'd stare at my baby and cry again. During postpartum recovery, hunger came fast. That afternoon, I hadn't eaten much, and by evening, my stomach was growling. The housekeeper had left early that day and said she wouldn't be back until tomorrow, so I could only call Liam and ask him to bring me something to eat. The phone rang for a long time before he picked up, and I could hear the sound of a video game in the background. I asked him to bring me some food. He mumbled that he'd come in a bit. I waited and waited. He didn't show up. Half an hour later, I called again. He said over the phone, "Didn't my mom bring you food already?" But no one had come at all. Maybe after finishing his game, he came into the bedroom and handed me a few small pieces of bread. In that painful, fragile moment, I was probably already slipping into postpartum depression without realizing it. I didn't argue, afraid to wake my sleeping baby. I just ate quietly, tears streaming down my face. Annoyed, he said, "Why are you crying again? I brought you food, didn't I?" I looked straight at him and asked, "Does it really take an hour to bring a few bites of food? Didn't you say your mom brought me something? Why didn't I see anyone?" As soon as I said that, his face darkened and his tone rose. "My mom's busy every single day, running the hotel and still taken care of. You! Can't you be more understanding?" I said nothing, just stared at Liam like he was a stranger. Since when did asking my husband to bring me food become a mistake? Meeting my eyes, he seemed to regret it for a moment. He reached out, wiped my tears, and said softly, "All right, baby. Next time I'll come right away when you call. Okay? Don't cry anymore, please." I didn't respond. Just thought about finishing my food and getting a bit of rest while the baby slept. He took that chance to step out of the room. From someone who once didn't even know how to hold a baby, I'd become a mother who could bathe her, change her clothes, burp her, and feed her, efficiently, quietly. But I was getting more and more silent. Only when I saw my daughter smile did I feel there was still hope ahead. On the day of my daughter's baptism, after a long, busy day, I asked Liam about the baby gifts. We should make a list of who gave what so we can send thank you notes later. But the moment I mentioned it, he snapped, his temper exploding out of nowhere. "You don't need to worry about that." I froze, confused, not understanding what just happened. Before I could ask again, he stormed out of the room and started another silent war. Wouldn't even give me the chance to speak. I turned back and held my daughter in my arms. She was still so tiny. I held her carefully, afraid that even the slightest squeeze might hurt her. But somehow I realized I was the one who was hurting. Every pointless fight and Cold War afterward, I could eventually trace back to something. Margaret didn't even need to say my name. Just a few vague remarks about how I wasn't raising the baby the right way, and Liam would find a reason to argue, or stop talking altogether. Even someone as naive as me had to understand eventually. Faced with her manipulation and lies, whether I spoke or stayed silent, whether I was right or wrong, in his eyes, his mother would always be the one who was misunderstood. Because his mother knew how to cry, how to make a scene, how to play the victim, and I only knew how to stay quiet. Not long after, Liam went to Texas to work with his uncle. In the beginning, he often video called to see our daughter. Things between us seemed to ease up a little, and my mood gradually lightened. Once he got settled, the plan was for our daughter and me to move there and live with him. Thinking about that gave me hope again. Days didn't feel quite so hard anymore. Our daughter's name was chosen by Liam's father, Isabella Carter. Mr. Robert Carter was a well-respected man, but he wasn't a good father. He took his own life the year our daughter turned 1. It sent shockwaves through our small town. He had many friends while he was alive, but no matter how crowded the funeral was, he couldn't feel any of it anymore. The real reason was heartbreaking. He had carried the weight of financial conflict with Margaret for years. He battled depression for a long time, and the constant fights over money with Margaret were the final straw. It sounds absurd, doesn't it? But it's the truth. Margaret valued money above all. The money she earned, she kept. Even Mr. Robert Carter's salary card was in her control. Every time he needed money, she'd give him just a little, sometimes not even enough to entertain guests or socialize. He was a gentle, prideful man, so he could only endure it in silence. Liam came home around midnight. I saw him sobbing in front of his father's photo, and I realized they were probably more alike than I thought. They loved each other but didn't know how to show it. And now, it was too late. For days, Liam barely slept. The red veins in his eyes, the scruffy stubble on his chin. It all broke my heart. In a quiet corner, he held me and said, "Olivia, he's gone." He didn't cry, but I couldn't stop my own tears. I held him and whispered, "It's okay. You still have me and our daughter. We love you. We'll always be your family." He hugged me so tightly, as if trying to absorb all my warmth. After the funeral, he reviewed the will and said there was $200,000 left for our daughter. He told me to keep $10,000 to take care of her, and the rest he'd give to his mom so she wouldn't worry. I nodded and said nothing. His time off was ending. The day before he left, Liam took his mother to deposit the money in the bank. When he returned, I casually asked, "Didn't you say part of the money in the will was for me to manage? If you transfer it to me, I'll put it in savings for our daughter." The moment I said that, his eyes flared with anger, like they were burning through me. "My dad just died, and you're already thinking about keeping the money. What makes you think you should be the one to hold it all?" I was stunned. Wasn't that what he had said? If I wasn't the one keeping it, then he could. Either way, it was for our daughter's future. But it seemed like just saying the word money was enough to set him off. He didn't even let me explain. He shouted in my face and slammed the door as he left. I didn't see him again after that. I only knew he went back to Texas with his uncle. What more was there to understand? He was by his mother's side every day, comforting her. And even if deep down he knew I wasn't at fault, in moments like this, his mother would always be the one who's right. Time had to move on eventually. When our daughter turned 2.5, our whole family moved to Texas. We rented a small 2-bedroom apartment with a living room. I found a job. Not very high-paying, but stable. My new boss and colleagues were kind, and I made new friends. Everything seemed to be heading in a good direction. I don't know if it was because I hadn't properly recovered after giving birth, but I started suffering from insomnia, and my health noticeably declined. My commute took about an hour and a half each way. After work, I still had to take care of our daughter. Margaret usually cooked, and when she had free time, she went on walks. She had already hired someone to manage the hotel. Personally, she seemed to recover from Robert's death much faster than I had expected. Liam's aunt once told me Margaret had always been a selfish person. No one could really get into her heart. Because I had to work and come home to take care of the baby, I was constantly exhausted. Every single day felt draining. And still, I had to pay attention to Margaret's mood and cater to whatever she wanted. Later on, even on weekends, Liam would drive his mother out to enjoy herself, while I stayed home with our daughter. Even when the baby wasn't feeling well, Margaret wouldn't stay home. She still expected Liam to take her out. I started to feel like things weren't right, but I didn't know how to bring it up. Liam seemed perfectly fine with how things were. The relationship between us wasn't exactly bad, but there was always some kind of invisible barrier, one that no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't break through. I told myself that maybe this was just how married life was after having kids. One day in June, Margaret suddenly suggested taking our daughter back to our old town, saying Texas summers were too hot. She'd stay there for 2 months to escape the heat. Liam must have known beforehand, because he didn't say anything. I, on the other hand, felt uneasy. But no matter how worried I was, Margaret took our daughter and left. It was just Liam and me again. Aside from the first few days where we missed our child, things between us really did get a little softer. I thought, maybe this was a kind of compensation. One Saturday evening, we were walking back home after eating pizza. Liam had a few drinks, so he didn't drive. As we walked from the subway station, we were talking about choosing a preschool for our daughter. Somehow the topic shifted to Margaret taking care of her, and I casually said something like, "We can't raise her the way your mom does, or she might pick up the habit of lying easily." It wasn't even just my opinion. Everyone around her knew it, and Liam knew it too. But the moment the words left my mouth, he suddenly yanked my arm, right there at the entrance to our complex. His face twisted in rage. "What gives you the right to talk about my mom like that? Do you have any idea how much she's suffered over the years? Who the hell are you to judge her?" Before I could say anything, he glared at me, eyes bloodshot. "Who do you think you are? My dad's already gone, and now you won't even leave my mom alone? Are you trying to drive her to death too?" People nearby had started stopping and staring. Seeing the crowd growing, I pulled him home. He didn't say another word, just stormed back to the apartment in anger. As I unlocked the door, I held back my rage and asked, "Why did you talk to me like that? What did I do wrong?" He snapped back, "You know exactly what you did. You made my mom cry how many times now, and you still act like the victim? She cooks for you every day, takes care of you, and you can't even share a little kindness? And now you talk bad about her? Why do you think she left town? She couldn't take it anymore because of you." I was shaking with anger. I finally shouted back, "Your mom! Your mom! It's always your mom. Why don't you ever ask what actually happened? Why do you just believe everything she says? Because no matter what, she's still my mother," he yelled, the fury and coldness in his eyes undeniable. "That's right. No matter what, she's the mother he'll never walk away from. And me? What am I in all of this?" I walked out, went to a hotel, cried until I had no strength left, and in that moment, I knew this had to end. I quickly submitted my resignation and handed everything over. During that time, Liam never contacted me, not even once. But honestly, I was used to the silent treatment by then. Not just from him, even I had gotten used to it. Once everything was settled, I rushed back to our old town and immediately brought my daughter to my parents' house. They just hugged me tightly without saying a word about anything else. But of course, staying long-term wouldn't be ideal. I planned to open a small shop so I could work and take care of my daughter at the same time. Saying it was easy, but once I actually started, every little thing became a headache. Finding a location, sourcing products, squeezing in time to pick up inventory, then coming home to hang up samples and take photos for promotion. It was nothing like I had imagined. After finally settling on a location, thankfully, the previous owner was kind and helped me a lot. At least, I wasn't fumbling completely in the dark. In the middle of it all, Margaret came to see me once. Her words were all thinly veiled, implying that getting divorced and dragging along a daughter would be too much of a burden. I snapped back without hesitation. "Don't worry about me." Maybe it was the first time I ever spoke to her that harshly. It caught her off guard, and she awkwardly said nothing more. The clothing store kept me so busy I could barely breathe, on top of raising my daughter. I felt like I needed to split myself in two just to manage it all. But once everything finally started running smoothly, that night, I sent Liam a WeChat message straight up. "When do you want to file for divorce?" His reply came quickly. "Anytime." Good. No need to overthink it anymore. I contacted the lawyer right away. Act 13. The next day, I was still busy tidying up the clothes customers had tried on at the shop. It was past 8. The whole street was already quiet and empty. I was about to close up. My mom had already picked up my daughter. Just as I was about to lock the door, someone standing outside startled me. "Liam!" He looked at me hesitantly, stammering, "Are you okay?" I didn't say anything. He cleared his throat and continued, "Do you have time to talk?" I knew, no matter what, there had to be some kind of closure. This wasn't something I could keep avoiding. So we walked along the edge of the street and sat down at a small riverside park. I stayed quiet. He sighed first, then began mumbling, "Olivia, I know you've put up with a lot over the years." At first, I didn't feel anything, but hearing that sentence made me angry. So he did know. He knew what I had endured, knew the situation I was in, and yet still chose to side with his mother. But what could I do? My dad had just died, and at first, I did everything I could to keep her calm. I was scared she might spiral, that I'd lose her too. I know she has her flaws, but I didn't expect her to deliberately sabotage our relationship. He didn't dare look at me, just kept staring at the flowing river. "I know I've wronged you. At the beginning, I didn't think you were doing anything wrong." But my mom kept talking, over and over, and after hearing it enough times, I started to believe there really was something wrong with you. He laughed bitterly. I just looked at him with pure sarcasm. "Are you saying this is the first day you've met me? You don't know what kind of person I am? And besides, everything your mom went through, was that my fault? Why should I be the one to suffer for it?" By the end, I couldn't hold back the bite in my voice. The pain in his eyes didn't look fake, but so what? The damage was done. What could a few words really fix? I stood up to leave. He hugged me from behind. His voice came from behind my back. "Please, just give me one more chance, Olivia." One last chance. I've talked to my mom, really talked. She won't live with us anymore. I'll send her money every month so she doesn't interfere with our life again. Our little family will be fine. I promise I didn't hesitate for a second. "See you in court tomorrow." Then I pushed his arms away and walked off without looking back. I've outgrown the age where an apology could fix everything. Someone like Margaret, I'll never believe she'll truly stay out of our lives. At best, this was just a stall tactic. I didn't want to be tangled up in it anymore. Act 14. Ever since that day, Liam started stopping by the store from time to time. I didn't look particularly pleased to see him, but he would help me tidy things up or carry heavy display racks. Our daughter was always happy to see him. Sometimes, I even felt a bit confused. If things had been like this from the beginning, how much better would everything have been? When I moved the store, I didn't have much cash on hand and had to borrow a bit from a friend. Coincidentally, this friend was someone both Liam and I knew. That day, I got a call from the friend saying the money had been paid back, and how impressed they were that my husband had just stepped up and paid without hesitation. I didn't know how to respond. My heart was full of complicated emotions. My parents, too, had advised me a lot. Seeing Liam changing, and the fact that his mother really hadn't come around anymore, they thought maybe things could be different. That night, as we were getting ready for bed, My daughter wrapped her arms around my neck and said, "Mommy, Daddy said he's going back to work soon, but you're still mad at him. So, what do you want Mommy to do?" I asked playfully, looking at her bright, clever little face. "I want Daddy and Mommy to take me out, like Nam's parents next door do." I smiled faintly. "Just want to go out and play, huh?" She buried her head in my arms and said softly, "I don't want Mommy and Daddy to get divorced. I don't want to be a kid without a dad." She was still so young and already understood so much. That was on me. Staring at her sleeping face, I found myself wide awake again. Should I give Liam one final chance, for her sake? That weekend, I closed the shop pretty late. As I was turning the lights off, I asked Liam, "When are you leaving?" He looked pleasantly surprised that I spoke first, but also nervous about what I might say. "Soon, in a few days," he replied while trying to read my expression. "Take Isabella to the new amusement park tomorrow," I said. "I'm closing the shop for a day. She hopes you'll go too." He froze for a moment, then his eyes lit up. "So you've finally forgiven me, haven't you?" he asked hopefully. I pushed his hand away as he tried to hug me, turned to face him and said, "This is the last chance." For our daughter, and for ourselves, he finally pulled me into a hug. I closed my eyes. Fine, just this once. The trip to the amusement park made our daughter happy for days. Seeing her innocent smile, I tried hard to suppress my own lingering doubts. In the days that followed, life did seem to get better. Without Margaret's presence, the distance between us lessened. And with a daughter to co-parent, even without officially being together, our relationship felt stronger than before. The only thing that wasn't ideal was the clothing store. Because of the pandemic and the rise of online shopping, I decided to transfer the business. It wasn't that it wasn't making money, it just wasn't much, and I was exhausted. I wanted to pivot in a new direction. With our daughter about to start school, I decided to take the certification exam to become a preschool teacher. I already had a college degree, so it wasn't difficult, and I passed easily. I landed a job teaching at the same preschool our daughter attended. It didn't pay much, but it meant I could pick her up and drop her off. When we video called Liam, he always said soon. Soon he'd have saved enough to buy a home in Texas, and the three of us could be together again. Housing in Texas isn't cheap, but over the years, working with his uncle had paid off. He was doing okay. My daughter and I both looked forward to moving to Texas, starting our real family life. One day during a video call, Liam looked uneasy, like he had something to say but didn't know how. I asked him directly what was going on. "My mom's sick," he finally said. "Her living situation isn't great. I was thinking maybe she could come stay with you and help out. Once she's better, she could even help look after you and our daughter." Then he rushed to add, "But if you're not okay with it, that's totally fine." My heart sank. So, it was finally happening. That burden I never dared to set down. Deep down, I'd always known it would fall again one day. And so, Margaret moved in with us. She really wasn't like she used to be. Back then, I tolerated her because she was older, and yet she still tried to control me. Now, if something bothered me, I said it directly. If she crossed a line, I pushed back. She didn't dare push too far anymore. I'm sure she still talked behind my back, but as long as I didn't hear it, I didn't care. At this point, I no longer cared what she said to Liam either. My daughter was in school. I had a job, some savings. Raising her on my own wouldn't be that hard. We lived peacefully for over half a year. Liam was happy that there were no more fights, but he didn't realize I just didn't have the energy to speak anymore. People don't change that easily. Just like at the beginning, there were things I should have understood. But I kept holding on, not out of hope, just out of refusal to accept the truth. When Lunar New Year came, Liam had a few days off and stayed with us. Our daughter was thrilled. But work was especially busy for me, so even with him home, I still had to go in. On the second day, it rained heavily. I had skipped meals, and my stomach was hurting badly. I had left the pain meds at home. By the time I got back, I was drenched. Liam was sitting on the couch scrolling his phone. Our daughter was doing homework. Margaret was cooking in the kitchen. I clutched my stomach and went to change clothes, washed my hands, called everyone to come eat. I brought the food out, realized one fork was missing, but I was too hungry to care. I just wanted a few bites first. But Liam snapped, saying I shouldn't have started eating before his mom sat down. You don't do anything all day. Can't even wait? Can't even wash a bowl? What kind of manners is that? In that moment, I just felt completely worn out. I didn't even want to explain. My daughter burst into tears. I put my spoon down, comforted her, and went straight to the bedroom. That was it. I didn't mention divorce while Liam was still home. Didn't want to ruin the holiday for our daughter. But once he returned to Texas, I sent him a message. Maybe he was still angry about what had happened. He didn't fight back. Just agreed. He left the house and the car to me, and custody of our daughter. That was better than I expected. No screaming matches. Everything happened quickly. No one even knew. Strangely, I felt more relieved than sad. Maybe I had already seen this ending coming. I just wanted to know if I'd get lucky. In the final days, Liam did ask me, "Do you really want a divorce?" And I didn't even hesitate. I said yes. I knew what he meant. If I said no, we wouldn't have to go through with it. After all, from the outside, it looked like he was doing well. Career going up, multiple properties, planning to buy a new car. But I didn't want this marriage anymore. It drained me. It left me with nothing but chaos. Maybe my first love wasn't wrong, just not strong enough to survive time. And people. I want to raise my daughter to be healthy and happy. I want to take her on trips, to the beach, buy her pretty dresses, show her new and exciting things. I want to teach her that when life gets tough, running away isn't the answer, and neither is surrender. We face things and we solve them. I want to tell her that a girl can live just fine on her own, that she doesn't have to lock herself inside someone else's definition of, "It's still okay," and waste her whole life in silence. I want to tell her that when she grows up, if she finds love, she should chase it boldly. But if that love turns bitter, she should never torture herself trying to fix it. There's a big, wide world out there. And her mother is always behind her, supporting her. She'll always have the right to choose, and the right to live freely.